Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Hello my dear friends and students, I am welcoming you to all to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University in Chaitanya Studio for the video lecture series for the course BBA Regular. In that block number 4, unit number 4, dividend and dividend policies. Let us begin our session to defining what are the different learning objectives for study this particular unit. After learning this unit, you will be able to understand the meaning of dividend, then types and forms of dividend, then legal provision for dividend, then the different procedure for payment of final dividend, factors affecting the dividend policy or dividing the policies are there, and different dividend policies are there. So now, my dear friends, let's begin our session with the introduction topic. There are the 3 important decisions of traditional financial management. There are mainly 3 decisions are there. First is finance decision, then investment decision and dividend decisions. Now let us examine these 3 decisions in an efficient manner. The finance decision is about to creation of funds. Which sources of the funds are desirable for the firm are evaluated by the financial manager. And the most appropriate funds are selected by the manager. It is about the formation of capital structure. The important decision is investment decision. And sometimes in a layman language it will be said that it is the capital budgeting. So my dear friends, here we talked about if you have the capital structure, efficient capital structure for a long-term decision or long-term investment, you have to take the 2 important decisions, that is financial decision and investment decision. The capital budgeting is a long-term investment decision. In investment decision, the working capital decision is included by some author. But the decision with respect to finance and investments are covered under the other units in this block. So you understand the whole process of the investment as well as financial planning, etc. But after that, the most important factor is that you have to take a decision with respect to finance as well as investment. And investment decision already we studied in a block 4 unit number 1. So my dear friend, let's move to the 3rd important decision for this particular unit, that is dividend decision, or we can say the important decision about to dividend declaration or dividend distribution. So the basic objective of any enterprise is to maximize the wealth of a business. Consequently, to the investors can be benefited by this wealth maximization approach. And my dear friends, in this way, the dividend distribution, there are 2 approaches are there. The first approach or one approach is to distribution of dividend brings to increase in the value of shares, while the second approach to favor of retention of earnings. The distribution of dividend always affect the liquidity position of enterprise. If adequate liquidity maintained by the enterprise, then it is desirable to pay the dividend. And there is a one class of investors seeks the regular payment of dividend, and another class believe in the capital appreciation. So here, my dear friends, when we talked about the capital appreciation and the payment of dividends are the difference are there, then it will be ultimately focusing on there are the three main decisions are there, that is investment, financial as well as dividend decisions. So this is ultimately defining how you analyze your financial planning in efficient manner. So ultimately these are the main approach of the distribution of dividend also. Now let us examine the definition of dividend. The unit is talked about the dividend and the dividend policies. So now the question is, sir, what do you mean by dividend? What is the definition of dividend? So the first definition is an amount paid generally on the regular basis by the company shareholders annually out of its profit or reserve, which is treated as a dividend. The profit available to distribution as a profit distribution to the shareholders, which is treated as the dividend, or we can say the divisible profit also accordingly. A dividend paid by the company to its shareholders is a return to shareholders for their investment in the company. Say for example, if you start a business, you earn something, your sales is maximized, your turnover will be increased by day by day, and your expenses is accordingly to allocated on it. And ultimately you earn that profit which is treated as your profit. But what about the shareholders? Shareholders are investing their money into the share of that particular company. So company will repay that particular amount of interest. We can say that interest or that profit will be treated as the dividend to that particular shareholders. As per the Companies Act 2013, there are the legal provisions are that to the dividend. As per the Companies Act 2013, section 2 subsection 35 defined the dividend. The term dividend includes any dividend. Now this is the question of interpretation. So in general terms, the dividend means the profit of a company which is not retained in the business and is distributed among the equity shareholders in the proportion to the amount of paid share held by them. So this is what the definition of dividend. Now what are the different types of dividend, my dear friends? So dividend majorly, or we can say the mainly, distributed or divided into the two categories. First is for the equity shareholders and second is for the preference shareholders. In equity shareholders, there are the two types of dividend are there. First is interim dividend and second is final dividend, or we can say the final dividend, final year's dividend. So majorly aspects are there, my dear friends, that is dividend is categorized under the two ways, that is for the equity shareholders and second is for the preference shareholders. Now on equity shareholders there are the mainly two types, that is interim dividend and second is final dividend. Now what is interim dividend? This dividend is declared for, or we can say the declared before the declaration of final dividend. There are the several factors which are considered before the declaration of interim dividend. These factors are the present status of the company, then profit status, present profit status, profit status for a future, then liquidity of a company, market trend, order on the handles, etc. This is one kind of additional dividend which is paid over and above the final dividend. The interim dividend is a dividend which is declared between the two annual general meeting. That means you divided that final dividend. Before the final dividend, whatever are that which is treated as interim dividend. Between the two general meeting, whatever the declaration of dividend are there, which is treated as an interim dividend. Now what is final dividend? It is that dividend which is paid on a yearly basis. At the end of accounting period, the accounts of companies are prepared, and after preparation of accounts, board of director evaluated its liquidity, profitability position of the company and expectations of the investors, etc. And with this consideration of the important factor, board of director recommended the dividend to the shareholder to approve it in the annual general meeting. Once it is approved in the annual general meeting, it becomes liability of a company and to be paid by the company in stipulated period of time. Once the final dividend is declared in an annual general meeting, at that point of time, company has put the liabilities over it that the company has to pay the dividend to the shareholders as discussed in an annual general meeting, and which is ultimately the paid after a year, that is a yearly basis. That's why it is called a final dividend. Third is preference share dividend. This is the separate group of shareholders which is other than the equity shareholder, and they are having the preferences of the two things over the equity shareholders, and that is dividend payment and redemption of capital. They have a rights over there. An equity shareholder has no right with respect to the payment of dividend and the redemption of capital. The rate of dividend for this group of shareholder remain fixed. Whatever that the 10% preference share or 20% preference share, 15%, whatever are there, the number of whatever the amount are there, amount is multiply with that 10 or 15%, which will be treated as your preference share dividend, which is fixed in a nature, and the preference shareholder has right to take a dividend before the equity shareholders, because the first preference is given to the preference shareholders as per Companies Act 2013 provisions. Now let's discuss the different forms of dividend. There are the different form of dividend. First is cash dividend, scrip dividend, bond dividend, property dividend, stock dividend, or we can say the bonus share also. Now let us understand what is cash dividend. This is most popular and desirable form of dividend payment. This form of dividend is linked with good liquidity position. If company does not maintain the enough cash, or we can say the liquidity, it will create a hurdle for a dividend payment. And during preparation of cash budget, the factor of dividend also should be considered, so that with the appropriate liquidity level, dividend can be paid without any hurdle, which is treated as a cash dividend. That means whatever the dividend are declared under the declaration in the AGM, that will be paid on the basis of a cash dividend also. Next is scrip dividend. This form of dividend is used when the firm has a weak liquidity or a shortage of cash. In this form of dividends, the equity shareholders are issued transferable promissory note, and here the dividend payment is paid in the form of promissory note, not in the cash or kind. It may or may not be interest bearing. Third is bond dividend. The bond dividend and the scrip dividend are similar in the all aspect except the maturity period. The duration of bond dividend is a longer compared with the scrip dividend, and the bond dividends bear the interest, and again this form is used when the firm has a lower or a weak liquidity position over there. So which is treated as a bond dividend. Next is property dividend. This form of dividend is not so popular. This form of dividend assists to maintain the liquidity position of the firm because no cash dividend is paid in this form. The different assets which are not required by the company is given to be the shareholder in the form of dividend, and this form of dividend payment is not popular in India. This is not in the maintaining this India, but ultimately this is the property dividend which is included in a finance subject, so we discussed it. Next is stock dividend, or we can say the bonus share. Under this form of dividend, additional share of the common stock of the ordinary shareholder. It is popular in USA and known as a stock dividend to existing shareholder. Due to this dividend payment, bonus shares are issued to the existing shareholders, and consequently reserve of the firm are converted into equity. The declaration of the bonus share will increase the paid up share capital and reduce the retention of earnings. Due to issue of bonus shares, there will not be any change in net worth of a firm. But in this context, the Companies Act 2013 provide the different provision with respect to the bonus share. So you must be go through that bonus share provisions, neither go for this particular point. After evaluate this, or after learning this particular, or after watching this video, you have to evaluate yourself to understand the different forms of dividend, types of dividend, the meaning of dividend, and etc. The different approaches are there, what are the important decisions over it. So you have to evaluate yourself with these two long questions. First is that discuss about the different form of dividend, and second is discuss the different types of dividend. Along with it, you have to firstly write the definition of dividend as per the Companies Act 2013 under section 2 subsection 35. Hope you learn well in this video. Hope you enjoy this video. We will meet in the next session with continuation of this particular unit, that is dividend and dividend policy. Enjoy yourself and write these two long questions along with your reference books are there. And after that, evaluating this, if you want to study further reading, then you may use these two books, that is Ravi M. Kishore, The Financial Management by the Ravi M. Kishore, and Financial Management by I. M. Pandey. Hope you well. Hope you understand this video. We will meet in a next session with the continuation of this particular unit, block 4, unit number 2, dividend and dividend policies. Thank you very much.